Santa Monica. This is a new game by AEG. It is a family game, so that is okay. It is a game that you can play these days with your family, with your spouse, with your kids, without having to leave the house in these days of social distancing. It is a game where you are building a tableau that is formed of cards representing beach sections and other areas where people go around, where people, I say meeple, where meeples go around and enjoy a good time. And that's how the game works, or at least that is the idea. There are three kind of meeple that you will interact with. You will place in your tableau the locals that have glasses because they're locals, they're really cool, the tourists, and then the VIPs. More bland because they're trying not to get recognized, I guess. Each player has a starting tile like this one, but in truth, the starting tiles are different. Each will give you a different way in which you will score points with your VIPs. They will move around your tableau and drop footprints every time that they visit a location that scores you point based on what it says there. And again, each starting tile has different things. Starting resources, this player starts with 2 VIP people and other people start with different things. For example, other people start with $10 instead. And then symbols here representing the kind of location that the starting tile is. All locations have symbols of that kind, and that is important for scoring purposes. The general idea is very simple. There are cards there. It's a display of 8 cards that you have to think of as divided into 2 rows, the front and the back. During your turn, you will usually take 1 card from the display and usually from the front. Sometimes you can activate the different things of getting cards. Different way of getting cards, I will give you 2. You take the card, you place it in your tableau, you resolve the actions that come from that, and then that's it. Your turn is over. You refresh the tableau so other people also have 8 cards potentially to choose from. And you continue like this until a player has 14 cards in their tableau. And at that point, that triggers the end of the game. And you score points. And the player with the most points wins the game. Now, more in detail. As I said, usually you will take a card from the front. Alternately, you may have $10 and you may spend them to acquire cards in one of the ways indicated here. These are more powerful. So for example, here you can take 2 cards from the front row, or you can pay $2 and take a card from the front and then swap 2 cards in your city. So basically, or do other things. And there are different other ways in which you can acquire cards and take these special actions based on $10. Only 2 of these will be used in a game, so you have variety there. Speaking of that, also there is a tile. 1 of these will be used every game, and that also will give you different things to score at the end of the game. So there is variety there. But the standard way of receiving a card is by taking 1 from the front row, and then you simply place it in your tableau. If it's a beach, it stays here on top. If it's a boardwalk, it stays here at the bottom. And when you place cards, of course, they have to be adjacent to other cards that you already have, or adjacent to your starting tile. Don't do weird stuff like that, because then how are the people supposed to go there? And then you will refresh the tableau by moving cards from the back to the front. So in most cases, when you take a card, in most cases from the front, and so the back is there so that you know what's available next and what maybe you don't want to make available to other players. These 2 game pieces, the food truck and the foodie, if you take the front card right in front of the food truck, you immediately gain a $10 that goes in your collection. And again, you will place your card, and then the food truck moves. If you take the card from the front row right by the foodie, then you get for free to move 1 of your meeples. The meeples will move by 1 location, like that. And the foodie also moves. Because of the way that 2 game pieces move, it's possible that they are in the same location. Then if you take that one, the card right in front of there, you will gain the advantages twice, which is you can take 2 sand dollars, or you can move 2 meeples, or 1 and 1. And after that, the food truck will move further so that they don't get stuck together for the entire game. As for the actions that you can take, and this is really the heart of the game, the actions or advantages. Some cards will give you ways of scoring points at the end of the game. The sandcastles are victory points, so if I have this card in my tableau, at the end of the game I will score 1 point for each 2 symbols of this kind that I have in my tableau. So for example, if the game was over now, that would score me 2 points, because I have 2 there and 2 of those symbols there. This one will, if I have it in my tableau, will score me 2 points for each card with this symbol, and 2 for each card with this symbol adjacent to this card here orthogonally, as indicated by those arrows. As I said, this is something that you score, and a lot of cards will give you that. This one is about waves symbols adjacent to this card, for example. And then these symbols here are what you gain when you receive the card. When you place this card here, for example, you receive a local meeple that goes there. Let's see if I skip other cards. So this card here will give you 4 tourists, and you put them there. Other cards, sand dollars. Other cards will allow you to move meeples, and when you do so, well, guess what? Yeah, you guessed it, you move the meeple. And when you move the meeple, again, each location counts as 1. That's called a movement point, like 1, 2, 3. Other effects like those will also allow you to move the meeple. So if this meeple moves by 2, you could do 1, 2, or 1, 2. Your starting tile counts as 2. What you want to do to move them is to meet the conditions indicated here. So for example, remember, my VIP scores a point for each location with that symbol visited. So if I move the meeple there and that meets that condition, then I will place a footprint token as a reminder that that meeple scored me that thing. Also, you have these activity rings. The symbol means 2 meeple of any kind. So if the activity ring is in my play area and at the end of the game I'm able to meet the condition of the activity ring, then I scored the indicated number of points. So for example, those 2 activity rings both give me points for having 2 meeples of any kind in the activity ring. And sometimes you can say do something like this because it's safe in case the game is over, and then you use, at least that's what I do, other movements of meeple, so to do a little bit of a conga line, because then I want to put some meeples there, and I'm gonna do I maybe can move 3 meeples, so I do 1, 2, and 3, just to make sure that if the game is over, still at least I get to score these 2 instead of like doing like this, and then somebody ends the game by getting a lot of cards, so special effect, and then I don't score that one or that one. It's funny to do the little conga line, at least that's how I call it. This is in essence the game. There are other effects, there are other icons, and the iconology is not too intense, but maybe disorienting at the beginning if you're playing with your family. But then I played it with my daughters that are 7 and 9, and they were able to figure it out. So it's definitely not all that hard. And this is how you play Santa Monica. Build your town until somebody has 14 cards. Then you score points from all possible sources, VIP, thingies, symbols that you collected during the game, the symbols or the conditions that are there. And at the point, the player with the highest score wins the game. Santa Monica. So this is a fun, simple, light game, and I like the fact that the basic rules are so simple, but then there is a lot of variety that emerges from the different combinations of icons, of special ways of acquiring cards, of special ways of scoring that you have from game to game, around basically the same idea of pick up a card or two if the special action allows you, put it down, collect some stuff, and perform some actions. And everything is right there, spelled out on the cards that tell you what you do, what you collect, and what you score. It is true that at the beginning, well, you have to learn to read Iconese. There's no other solution here. And Iconese is a language that we learn every time. But the icons here are, well, numerous. They are still very intuitive. And again, my 7-year-old was able to read them, my 9-year-old also, and so I think the game is in fact one that would work as a family game, maybe as a family game in a family of gamers, or a family where there is a passionate gamer that is going to happily introduce the game to others, but definitely appealing that way. And once you learn to read Iconese and you're there playing with your family in a situation of social distancing that I hope everybody's doing, then it's fun, because the pace of the game is pretty fast. Even when the kids are taking a while trying to maximize their display, the game is not too overwhelming. I didn't find the burden of choice or analysis paralysis to be that much of a problem, which is important because there is absolutely nothing in the game that you can do during other players' turns. So if you're playing with somebody who is known for their tendency towards analysis paralysis, the game may see potentially could cause that. But usually you have 2-3 good things that you can do. Heck, at the very least, you can't really worry about too many things to do, because if you don't have enough $10, there are 4 cards that you can take. And so that's, and maybe one doesn't make any sense, or another one really is patently useless for you. Then you have 2 cards and you consider which one you want and where you put them. And so you have enough choices to keep you entertained, but not too many, I believe, to make the game confusing and dizzying. And so the game works because it is satisfying to see how your tableau evolves and develops. So sometimes, of course, part of the satisfaction is to build towards a big payoff. If early on you get a card that will allow you to score a lot, if you're able to build a big synergy, then you're working towards building that synergy. But of course, at the same time, try to do multiple jobs, multiple tasks at the same time. Because if that card that I get allows me to build towards that big synergy and gives me something that lets me start building towards something else, that of course is the idea. Is what you're trying to do. And the game works. It's fun, it's simple. Once you learn how to read Iconese, it flows well. There is great variety, again, thanks especially to the massive number of different ways in which you score. Some I even mentioned, but they're there on the cards. Actually, I'm not going to mention them because some of them I was like, this is interesting. I did not know that you could score like this in this game. So actually it's a game that actually has replay value, even in the fact that you may have to play it a couple of times just to see all that it has to offer, all of the resources, and especially all of the scoring opportunities that it has. So Santa Monica, I find it light, simple, and enjoyable. Definitely a good family game.